Sahana Vavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Okay. Atmanam tu ratinam vidhi. From there, I'll chant. And that is number 3. Because this section is actually centered on this very wonderful analogy of a chariot. Atmanam ratinam vidhi Shariram rathamevatu Buddhim tu sarathim vidhi Manapragrahamevacha Indriyani hayanahuhu Vishayansteshu gocharan Atmendriyamano yuktam Bhoktetyahurmanishinaha Yastva vijnanavan bhavati Ayuktena manasa sada Tasyendriyan yavashyani Dushtashva iva sarathe Yastu vijnanavan bhavati Yukte manasa sada Yuktena manasa sada Tasyendriyani vashyani Satashva eva sarate. Okay, so it is speaking about all the faculties, our faculties. So the body, the senses, the mind, the intellect, and finally the owner of all of these faculties, who is Atma. Body, mind, intellect, like that going up. And then the owner of all of these faculties, not only the owner, but the one that is the enlivener, the one that supplies the consciousness for all of these faculties. And it makes an analogy with a chariot. He says, in number 6 where we stopped, Yastu vijnanavan bhavati yuktena manasasata tasya indriyani vashyani, whose senses are under control, senses and mind are under control. He says, Sad ashwaha iva sarathe. It is like a charioteer who is driving horses that are really well controlled. And those horses will take him to his destination, destiny. And for those people whose senses are not controlled, those are like having wild horses, and that will lead to his ruin. Who wants to come out on a path with wild horses? Mustang or something they call here in this country. They go like that. And these two are given, one who has these senses and mind and everything controlled, and those who don't. They were given in the 2 previous verses. But same thing again is given next 2 verses also. See this, number 7, with new words. And very interesting words also. Yastva vijnanavan bhavati Amanas Amanaska sada shuchihi. Nasatat nasatat padamapnoti. Samsaram chadhigacchati. Yahatu avijnanavan bhavati, same word that was used before. The one who doesn't have proper knowledge, and without proper knowledge, there are what we call in ordinary language quick fixes, and there is a permanent fix. And it is in the interest of many people to have quick fixes. What people say is just treating symptoms. Many people have interest in that because there are things to gain, just treating symptoms, and the root cause, you don't get to it. Society works like that actually. Well, here also, Vijnana is the solution at the root level, to get to the root cause. Because Jiva only has one problem, that is called ignorance. Ajnana is the only problem of Jiva. From Ajnana comes delusion, and from delusion, aham, mama, ityadi, right? Then aham, mama, then leads to kam, krodh, madalo, vitya, and the whole thing going down the road like that. But the root problem is Ajnana. And the only one solution, the only antidote for Ajnana, I told you, is Jnana. So, here, the solution at the fundamental level is Vijnana. Right? And then, at superficial level, we will have other solutions, quick fixes, Like I'll give you an example. Like you have sorrow, right? Well, the real solution to sorrow is Jnana. The fundamental solution is Jnana only. But you have sorrow and somebody comes and give you a hug and say, don't worry, it will pass away. They say, whatever comes also will go, like that. And give you some solace and, like that, consolation. And that is a quick fix. To get Vijnana, to get knowledge, Jnana, and remove that problem once and for all, that is not a quick fix. That takes time. But this one will come and give you a little company and speak with you and all that. So the whole society actually get at that only. So here, the solution is being given at the fundamental level. Yastu vijnanavan bhavati. It means yaha tu avijnanavan bhavati, means the one who doesn't have this knowledge, then amanaskaha, he remains thoughtless. Amanaskaha sada ashuchihi, impure, with all the impurities remaining there. And then he says, such a person, nasattat padamapnoti, he does not reach that supreme state. He doesn't get mukti, in other words. He doesn't reach that supreme state. And then, if he doesn't reach that supreme state, then what? Samsaram cha adhigacchati. He goes over and over, round of birth and death. Punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam. Like that. So who the one who doesn't have this vijnana, avijnanavan? So, we may have a high degree of purity also, we may have a high degree of anything, but if we don't get this vijnana, if we do not reach that supreme state, there is always coming and going. We don't get that vijnana to remove jnana. We'll always be coming and going. The important words are there in the mantra, which we have to study a little bit. So, vijnana word we saw before. Vijnana, jnana, vijnana. Two words Bhagavan uses in Gita also. Jnana and vijnana. So people ask all the time, what is it jnana and what is vijnana? So, when that knowledge of scripture is collected, So what knowledge? Aham Brahmasmi, Tattvamasi, Prajnanam Brahma, all these Mahavakyas you know, no? Sarvam Khalvidam Brahma, they are all Mahavakyas only. I am Atma Brahma. And we say there are 4, but there are hundreds, huh? Not 4 only. We chose 4, but there are hundreds of them. So, when that thing is collected and understood well, like for example, when you take Tattvamasi Mahavakya and you do that Niruparam, and this is Jiva, this is Brahma, Jiva, Ishvara, whatever you want to call, right? Jiva and Ishvara both. So, you remove all the upadhis of Jiva, you realize Jiva, essentially, basically, Jiva is Sat, Chit, Ananda. And here from this Ishvara, you remove all upadhis also. Ishvara also is Sat, Chit, Ananda. Like that when you remove, then you realize that Jiva and Ishvara, they are one and same. So like this, when we understand, see now we collected the knowledge, we listened, we reflected, we understood, we can do this Niruparam also and find out that both of them are Satchitananda and all of this. Well, everybody knows this. That is called Jnana. But that doesn't do anything because when anybody shouts at me, that time I forget I am Satchitananda. And then that person tells, why are you getting angry? You are Satchitananda. You get more angry that time then. So, that knowledge which is collected, that time it is only called Jnana. I know it well, very well. I can regurgitate everything. But when that thing is meditated upon, so I'll tell you. So, you know how we ingest food. So we ingest it, then digest it, then absorb it, then we assimilate it, then we metabolize that food, and then that food expresses as our actions, isn't it? Then I can do something. If this process is not gone, then I'll be left there. Suppose you only ingest and no digest. Then this body will slowly wane, isn't it? So, the food doesn't get to express if this whole process doesn't happen. In the very same way, what we are doing with this knowledge, we are ingesting only. There is knowledge. I have to sit now in what is called meditation, nitidhyasana, dhyanam, whatever you want to call. And this Brahma, this Satchitananda which I am talking about, I have to realize that that thing is me only. It's not. I've talked about it very nicely and I understood it very well also. And I go on saying it. In the third person. That thing has to be made the first person through dhyana. Then only it becomes Vijnana. When it is digested, absorbed, assimilated, metabolized, and manifested in my life, that thing becomes Vijnana, like that. So this person who is avijnani, who doesn't have, it doesn't matter what knowledge I have, how much, and how many Upanishads I have studied, and how many Mahavakyas I have gone through. And that's why Puja Gurudev says very nicely, see, I have gone through the Gita, but has the Gita gone through me? That is the meaning. Eh? So it becomes Vijnana at that time. And if that is not there, then Amanaskaha, he remains a thoughtless being. Thoughtless being means what? Well, the person who is jnani, vijnani, like that, he is all the time reveling. What is that? Nandati Nandatyeva. Yogarato va, bhogarato va, sangarato va, sangavihina. Yasya brahmani ramate chittam. Whose chitta is reveling in Brahman, Nandati. He is reveling all the time. So, if that is not the case, then my mind is only just roaming everywhere in this world from one Vishaya. See, just in previous verse he had told, no, Vishaya. Vishaya means one object to another, and all my planning and calculating and deciphering and all things only related to all the worldly things. And he's called as amanaskaha. Amanaskaha means thoughtless. Thoughtless or clueless. He's clueless about reality. Clueless about Brahman. He's asleep to the reality. Yani shasarva bhutanam tasyam jagarti samyami. Bhagavan tells in second chapter that the rishi is awakened to the reality and all of us are asleep to the reality. Reality is right there, but we can't see it. We are asleep to that reality. So he's like that. And sada ashuchihi. All the time impure. All the time impure means what? Because he has not gotten rid of the fundamental impurity. The impurity is three types. It's called as mala, vikshepa, and avarana. These three. So avarana is ignorance only. And it means covering, veiling. That is pure ignorance, right? And when that happens, the other part of this mind now causes vikshepa, means all the chanchalatvam, all the projecting, all the, they say the racing mind. Even when we go to sleep, we are dreaming, and while dreaming also, we are moving on the bed and kicking and talking in the sleep. And then when that husband got up in the morning and told that wife, last night in your sleep you were saying really bad things about me. That wife said, who was sleeping? So that mind is still working when we sleep also, and all that faculties, they keep on working, you see, racing all the time. So that thing is called as vikshepa. So the veiling or covering, which is ignorance, that is the first level of, highest level of impurity. Then there's vikshepa, which is all the movement and unsettledness and chanchalatvam and all of that. And then there's the last level of impurity, it's called as mala, kam, krodh, madalob, all these things which we know, jealousy and pride and malice and all the ordinary things, and all the backbiting and pulling down, and which is part of the whole competitive world. You know that outside. And this one in the office wants a promotion, and this one wants the promotion. So this one, so then they get into all the background politics and all. It's called mala. How many things go on like that? Countless things. And very interesting thing about this mala. This is there. See, jiva has mala, vikshepa, avarana, right? So, at the ordinary level of society, you see all the mala, impurities, ordinary level. And vikshepa, avarana, ordinarily, nobody thinks about that at all. All jivas have this mala. So it doesn't matter at which strata in society that jiva is there, because the mala is there, whichever strata. So from the president coming down to a regular resident, everybody will have. So all the same competition and the backbiting and the background thing, fighting and infighting and all the corruption and kickback and money laundering, and this is from here till there. Because greed is a lobha, is a kam, krodh, mada, lobha is, and all jivas have that mala. So we should not think that, at some levels it is not there. That is there everywhere, in every country, at all times, in all people. Because we say sometimes, no, this country is so corrupt. Anywhere you go, people make comments about India and all. India is so corrupt, and Africa is so corrupt. And Arey, bhaiya, the same Kam, Krodh, Mother, Lobh, Ityadi, everything is here in this country also. It's just that you can't see it so well. Same. You don't ever think. And what happened? They paint a picture here that people in Colombia are so corrupt. People in that place are so corrupt. But based on this analysis of a jiva having mala, vikshepa and avarana, and jivas are there in every strata of society, it is exactly the same. Sometimes it may be worse and you don't know. Like that only. The same level or even worse corruption in bigger amounts. Because the jivas are there the same. What to do? This is called as ashuchi. Sada ashuchi. He says. Always impure. Always. Nasatat padam apnoti. He does not reach at tat padam. Tat padam means supreme state. This who doesn't have this jnana and who harbors, cultures, fosters, engenders, protects, perpetuates all of these impurities. Never reaches that state. Tat padam. Darshitam yena tasmai shri gurave. How many times tat padam comes in that Guru Stotra? Tat padam means that supreme state. It says samsaram cha adhigacchati. He take rounds in samsara means samyak sarati. Samyak sarati means moving along very nicely. See, the realized being, he becomes achala. Achala means unmoving. Achalam means come. But the one who is not realized, then for him, we just told, samsara means samyak sarati. He goes on and on and on from birth to death, birth to death, birth to death. And see, that is not qualification for anything. Maybe in my next life I'll be better. How it will happen? By dying. Maybe in my next life everything will improve. Improvement does not come by dying. Improvement comes by the jiva making all the efforts here and now, and all the discipline and all the sadhana and all the tapas and all of that here. And we cannot hope that maybe when I die and I'm born, I might be born in some better place. That will not happen. I have to do all the sadhana here and now only. All the spiritual practices and all the tapas. Udyamena hi siddhyanti karyani namanorathahi. Any achievement is acquired only by hard work, not by wishing. So we have to engage in some proper sadhana and with discipline and continuously do that thing. That is the idea. Huh? Continuously, regularity and consistency. Gurudev used to say. Regularity and consistency. Those kind of words. So, if that is not there, tat padam na apnoti. He doesn't achieve that supreme state. He doesn't achieve that supreme state, then punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam. Bhagavan Shankaracharya laments in that verse, He says, punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam, punarapi janani jathare shayanam, iha samsare bahudusthare, kripaya apare. Please, Prabhu, with your compassion, pahi murare. please save me, like that. Lamed means the only thing I can do now is surrender to you. I really can't. So surrender also is a path. But whichever way to reach this Tat Padam. This is the idea. Okay. Now see. But he who has Vijnana, again you see using the two previous verses, match these two verses. Yastu Vijnanavan Bhavati Samanaska Sata Shuchihi Satu Tat Padamapnoti Yasmat Bhuyo Na Jayate Yasmat Bhuyo Na Jayate. That person who has Vijnana, he is not born again in this world. So in the two verses, when you put them together, the whole big idea of reincarnation also comes under another big topic. Reincarnation. Because many people who, I want to tell you some interesting facts about reincarnation. Gurudev used to say that the idea of reincarnation is an intellectually most satisfying idea, because there will be so many things that you cannot explain otherwise. And it is so intellectually compelling. I'll show you how. See, in this country, how many Hindus are there? You may say 1%, isn't it? Yeah, about that, 1% if you say. Acha, theek hai. In this country, 35% and climbing of the people believe in reincarnation. Because the other 99% are not Hindus, but they believe in reincarnation. That is what the statistics show. So, what that means, even people who are not Hindus, this idea is extremely compelling. The idea of reincarnation. I once met a Catholic fellow. So I heard him talking about his next life. I said, but you're Catholic? He said, no, but I have my own special brand of Catholic. Because in his Catholicism, he also accepts reincarnation. One fellow went to a Mahatma and he told him, Mahatma ji, I do not believe in reincarnation. That Mahatma said, no problem. In your next life, you will believe. Actually, that is also a very interesting statement. Huh? You know what that statement is? That statement is, you don't have to believe to be born again. Because you did not make the laws of nature, isn't it? You did not make the laws of nature. We did not make the laws of nature. We came here and met it there, isn't it? So if nature says that you will be born again, whether you believe or not, this is a very interesting thing. Huh? This is not only for reincarnation. Across the board. Belief does not make truth or falsity. Belief has nothing to do with truth or falsity. You may believe whatever you want. See, how many people used to believe that the earth is flat? But did that make the earth flat? Europeans, even up till Columbus time, they used to believe that the earth is... When he went to his own king and told, you give me some ships, I will sail here, that king said, are you foolish or what? If I give you ships, you will sail there, you will fall over. So the whole world believing that the earth is flat does not make the earth flat. Believe there is no democracy. Because majority believe, therefore it is like that. So the world has its rules and laws and all in its millions and billions, infinite laws. It is going on not because of us, in spite of us. So, if I do not believe in reincarnation, but yeah, no problem. That doesn't mean that you will not be born. Like that. So, the two verses put together is talking about going and coming. The scriptures everywhere, Bhagavad Gita also. Yad gatva na nivartante. Otherwise, gatva nivartante. Yeah. So, it is, for Hindus, this has always been, actually, it's in Greek literature also, just that they don't put emphasis on it. They have seen it. Reincarnation is very much part of the whole universe and all. And we say, we give some simple examples to show that really this is the only way to explain certain things. Otherwise, you will have to accept that Bhagwan is arbitrary. Actually, I had one fellow, this man is a preacher also. And he came to speak with me. And then I asked him about this. You all don't believe in reincarnation, no? He said, no, we don't believe in this thing. I said, okay, who made me? Bhagwan. God. Who made you? God. Huh? Okay. So God makes two children. He's the one who makes everybody. He makes two children at the same time or even within short time. And he sends one child in Buckingham Palace and one child is born in the city dump. Because there are people living there also. Right? So on what basis he sent this child to Buckingham Palace and this child to the city dump? Just arbitrarily. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Shut your mouth and go. Arbitrarily like that. He said, no, 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 no. His reply, I asked this question. He said, no, no, that is the parents' fault. I said, what? Parents' fault? Well, of course, I did not know what he meant by that also. Parents' fault, no? So then I asked, you mean to say that one person can do bad karma and that bad karma will go on the other person? He said, yes, we believe that. I said, well, then I can't have a discussion with you anymore because I'm talking about some rational thing I'm asking. And then you immediately slip from the realm of rationality to the realm of belief. That if you believe now, what I'll do about your belief? I can't do anything. He believes that this person can do the karma and that person can get the result. That also totally irrational to my mind. Because in this case, you do the crime and I do the time. So that also doesn't sound so good to me. So we say, Bhagwan only has one basis on which to send that child to Buckingham Palace and that child to the city dump. And that basis is Purva Karma. What are the basis? Otherwise, we'll have to accept Bhagwan is arbitrary or the universe is arbitrary. Just you throw the cards up and they fall wherever they may fall. Like that. And he happened to fall there. So then your existence here is also by some chance. We just fell here. But we don't want to accept an Ishvara like that. Everything is arbitrary and all. So anyway, based on this, we 100% accept this whole idea of karma and reincarnation are intricately tied to each other. Karma and reincarnation. So, the one who doesn't attain this state of mukti, he again and again comes. And the one who doesn't reach that Tatpadam. Tatpadam, who doesn't reach, he again and again comes back to this world. And the one who reaches Tatpadam, Yad Gatva, Nani Vardante. He doesn't come back here. This is the idea. So throughout the Upanishad, people have a lot of questions. Swamiji, in my next life, I can be born as a monkey or donkey or something also. Very funny question and all. Spider? Well, if you don't like spider, you will be thinking about spider all the time only. And if you're thinking about spider all the time, well, that is what you will be born as. Spider only. This mind is a very funny thing. You see, we think more about our enemies than our friends. All the time we are thinking about that enemy, you know. So a spider which we don't like, we go on thinking also. So, people have all this type of questions, whether I'll be born, but in Kathopanishad especially, we can be born as anything. Some people have belief that once you're a human being, next life you will be born only as a human being. Upanishadic wise, that is not true. You can be born as anything. And I'm telling that in that camp, in Labor Day camp, one fellow went to listen to satsang like that, and he heard in that satsang that in his next life he could be born as anything. Monkey, donkey, buffalo, anything. So he went home and he was very depressed, you know. You mean in my next life I'll be born as a donkey? That wife said, you will not be born as a donkey. Don't be depressed. He said, how you know that? She said, you are never born the same thing in 2 consecutive lives. I don't know now if it became worse for him now, if depression is more or what. Anyway, so according to the Upanishad, because this other question comes up all the time, we could be born as anything. One more thing about that, you should not think that is a step back. It need not be like that. The universe is not like that. Hindus don't see the universe as Westerners see the universe. So if I go back into a dog's body, we should not think, oh, I've taken a step backwards. Because a dog does not create new karmas. So I just go there to exhaust certain karmas. You know, it's like the example I gave there. Somewhere, I read this actually, some very famous basketball player from one level, he was chosen to play at a higher level. That state team or big team. And before they signed the contract and all, they realized this fella never finished high school. And the rule at that level, you at least have to finish high school. So they now had to send him back to high school for 1 year to finish that. Now it is not a retrograde step, a step backwards. It is actually a step for something higher, like that. So you have something that you have to exhaust, so you go back into some other body. It's not any backward step. You should not think like that. So karma and reincarnation is like this, and we get many, many chances again to do that sadhana, to have discipline, to do tapas, to do spiritual practice, engage in all of this, and again move like that. All right, so integral part of what Sanatana Dharma is. Now the state, again, 3 times the state is spoken about. It will come now in number 9 again, see. Vijnana sarathiryastu mana pragrahan vannaraha sodhvana paramapnoti tadvishno paramam padam tadvishno paramam padam Vijnana Sarathihi. Yes, two. He who see how interesting. Now, the Sarathi, which is Buddhim to Sarathim, Vidhi. We saw there. So the Buddhi, or the intellect, is the Sarathi. So he says that Buddhi, which has this Vijnana. So now finally Buddhi is brought back. Buddhi was left out because all the time I told her, mind and senses, these fellows, they have the upper hand. They drag us everywhere. But the topic of Upanishad is Vijnana. And that Vijnana is to be obtained through the Buddhi. In Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan says, Buddhi grahyam atindriyam. It is to be intuited by the Buddhi because it is beyond the senses. Because senses are seeing, we see all day, no? Everything. But we don't see Brahman. Every day we are seeing, but we don't see Brahman. Actually, that also is not true. Eh? The way to say that properly is, we see Brahman only, but we don't know. Eh? Bhagavan Shankaracharya gives a very nice example, you know. Bhagavan has thought about everything, I tell you. He says the father goes to Gurukul to see his son. So he enters that door, and his son is sitting there with 15, 20 other boys. And they are chanting, Om Sahasrashir Shah Purushaha Sahasrakshas Sahasrapat Sabhumim Vishvato Vritva Ityadi. They are chanting like this. 20 boys. So now, he is hearing this chorus, and in that chorus his son's voice is there. So he is hearing his son or not? But in 20 voices you cannot tell which voice is your son. So at the same time he is hearing and he is not hearing also, isn't it? In the very same way, at the same time we are seeing Brahman and we are not seeing Brahman also. Very same way. When we look into this world, because it is mixed up with Ajnana. In other words, I'll tell you what that means. This is a very wonderful thing. When I see any object, right? So, seeing the object produces numerous thoughts in my mind. There is first the thought which is associated with Nama, because the Roop is associated with Nama, it's called book. So there is Roop, it is rectangular. Then there is Nama, which is a book. Then, you know, sometimes you have a voluminous book, a big book. But you know, you also have here medium-sized book. So medium size, I'm telling how many thoughts are there in your mind simultaneously. Eh? Book, rectangular, medium size, purple color, because color is there along with it. Then, it is there, for you it is some distance. So the amount, how far distance, all these thoughts are jumbled up in the mind one time. Eh? Because if it is here, you'll know it is not there. So it is there, then, because I'm holding it, it is up, not down. Now, if you go on like this, you will see that for one experience, there are numerous thoughts that will be there. And then you will add some. Like, I like it. Terrible, they could not make better color or what? So you add a few. Whatever is there, what we call objectively is so many already, but then our mind will add a few. So any one object. But behind all of that, there is the fundamental thought, or the thought which precedes all the other thoughts, and that is, it exists. that accompanies all of these thoughts. It exists. But that it exists is like the boy's voice in 20 other students. We cannot extricate that one thought from the other 20 thoughts. So we are seeing Brahman, the existence, but we don't know that we are seeing Brahman. He's hearing his son's voice, but he doesn't know, he cannot extricate it from the rest. That is the idea. So, the one whose buddhi has become this sharp, this buddhi has to have these three qualities. Huh? Buddhi has to have three qualities. Buddhi has to be shuddha, pure. Pure buddhi. Buddhi has to be tikshna. Tikshna means sharp. This is not, when Bhagavan says buddhi grahyam, the buddhi will grasp it or intuit that. If the buddhi doesn't have these qualities, it cannot grasp anything. So shuddha, tikshna, sharp, and it has to be sukshma. And this is actually very important. All three are important. Three of them are important. Sukshma. Sukshma means subtle. The buddhi has to be able to see very subtle things. Otherwise, you tell, what is it? Anything you tell, that becomes like the ceiling, but above our head. It goes like that. So the buddhi has to be sukshma, subtle, be able to grasp subtle things. Subtle things mean things which are beyond the senses and mind, and buddhi has to have these qualities. So now in this verse, the buddhi is brought back. That buddhi has to have these qualities to be able to grasp or intuit the higher reality. So vijnana sarathihi yastu, whose buddhi has been chastened, purified, and all of these things, made sharp and made subtle, this buddhi will be able to grasp, will be able to contain vijnana. Jnana and vijnana. Now there's much more to this, of course. But such a person is able now, mana pragrahavan naraha, with that type of buddhi. There's a nice verse in the 6th chapter also, as Bhagavan tells there. He says, Shanai Shanai Ruparamed Buddhya Dhriti Grihitaya. Slowly, slowly, with that buddhi that has been made pure, made sharp, made subtle, you draw this mind back. So he says here, mana pragrahavan naraha. The nara, human being, jiva, who has now pulled the reins of the mind. Same thing, huh? Remember, Bhagavad Gita is only Upanishad. So with that buddhi which is sharp and pure and subtle and pulls that mind. And when we say pure, in that pure, sharp, subtle of buddhi, pure is the biggest word there, because it means to say the buddhi which has become quiet, the buddhi which has become desireless, the buddhi, all the, noise of the buddhi and everything has stopped. All of those things. Pure buddhi, he is able to now pull the reins of the mind. And so advanaha param apnoti. He proceeds on this journey and reaches that supreme state. Now here the supreme state is also called Tad Vishnoho Paramam Padam. Now see, just now it's called Tat Padam. Now it is called as Param Apnoti. Now it is called also as Param, that others show. Then Vishnoho, state of Vishnu. All of these things mean same. Huh? What to tell? Our rishis like words. They like many words. That because how they like words, that is just demonstrated. We have a whole deity for speech. Isn't it? And not any ordinary deity. If you study Saraswati also, your mind will be blown. So how the poetry and the mastery of words and choice of phrases and amazing. There's no literary tradition on this earth that can match. You cannot imagine what it is to do Sanskrit composition and maintain the rules of Chanda. Bhagavad Gita has 700 verses. And you know, 700 verses. He is doing it Anushtup and Trishtup Chanda. And Chandas have exact number of syllables in every line. And not only that, like fourth should be long and fifth should be short and seventh should be long syllables. The rules are also maintained. And then in that, you capture all of Upanishadic philosophy without breaking the rule. If this civilization has not mastered words and literature, no civilization. Tulsidas ji has written 12,000 verses in Ramcharitmanas and they're all rhyming. And capturing also, and maintaining the chanda also. And at the same time, capturing history, capturing aesthetics, capturing morality, ethics, philosophy, what we call social mobility. Oh, Bapre, any topic you can think of, he's captured everything inside of there. And while I'm not breaking any of that meters and all, keeping all of them. It's mind-blowing. So this civilization places a tremendous emphasis on words and language and all of that. And so we have Vani Saraswati as the deity for this thing. So many words now for the same thing. Vishnupada, Tatpadam, Param, all sorts of words for the same, referring to the same thing. So the one who gets this buddhi in this state and is able to pull this mind. And see, senses are connected to mind because senses are not given here. Senses are all connected to mind only. So if you pull the mind, you pull all the senses, all 5 of them, like tentacles, they go out. So you hold the mind, you hold all of them, pull them inside. Such person reaches that supreme state of Vishnu, Paramam Padam. Okay, now that person is said to have a proper charioteer, and Arjuna was so lucky. Arjuna had the best charioteer in the whole world, isn't it? Now see how that symbolism fits very nicely there. That is why Arjuna was able to say at the end, Nashto moha smritir labdha, isn't it? That my moha has gone away, my delusion has gone away, because buddhim tu sarathim vidhi. Arjuna had the best charioteer, who is Krishna him. So that means symbolically, Arjuna had the best buddhi. That buddhi which is able to grasp the reality. No wonder Bhagavan is giving to him. And Bhagavan is not giving to us. Bhagavan is giving to Arjuna because he had the best buddhi. Symbolically, wonderful buddhi. And immediately he'll grasp what Bhagavan is. One more thing, the Ved Vyaji says, he is using Arjuna as an excuse only to teach us. Arjunam nimitti kritya Bhagavan Vasudeva aha. He is using Arjuna as an excuse, really. It means to see Bhagavan also, he will not come to teach one person. That is a waste of avatar. Waste of avatar to come and teach one person. So he is using Arjuna as an excuse. He is teaching all of us. But he uses a good excuse because Arjuna also got it at the end. You see? Alright, so that type of buddhi, only sharp, pure, and sukshma, subtle buddhi will give us the ability to pull that mind, bring it under control. And then that buddhi also, with its purity and subtleness, will be able to grasp the reality. And so we reach that supreme state. This is the idea. And of course, questions will come up. how to sharpen the buddhi, how to. That is why see, students go to Gurukul. The first ritual that was done, they'll give that Jnana and give Gayatri mantra. It is said that this Gayatri mantra is the best way to sharpen this buddhi. And go on doing that. Gayatri mantra. That is why it is given first. Sharpen that buddhi with that Gayatri mantra. All right. So, as I calculated it, now number 9 is over. So, 8 left? No, 17 and 1. 7 and 1. 8. 8 left. Is it? 8 left. So, I don't know, I didn't check. Somewhere I had seen 16 only. 17. So 4 by 4. Huh? I have 2 more days left. 4 by 4. Okay, we'll finish. Don't worry. You can finish 8 in 1 day also. No problem. All right. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.